so I started to see life very differently, and all that time, what I started doing is I started to go, and I have to be honest, all truth be told, my twin brother come home one day and he said, "Look, let's go and do some Bible study." By the neighbor called Miss Marjorie. Bible study. You serious boy, Bible study? And here what caught me. After Bible study, she has snacks and eats. I come into Bible study. I come into Bible study because I was more interested. I wasn't really interested in reading the Bible and so. But you know, God has a funny way of working things out. Yeah. Right? And I got there, and eventually, the way she started explaining how important God is, and so I started taking God more serious. Yeah. Because at first it was like, hey, it's cool to go Bible study. People think I'm a church boy, no problem. Right. But then I realized, you know what? Without God, and I had obviously some tough situations, but without God, it can't work. And let me say this thing to you. You know, if I would have asked the guys in the audience, and I want you guys to put it in the chat. You guys in the audience, put this in the chat for me. This is a physical place. This is actually a physical place, a place you can see. You guys put in the chat, and Anthony will let us know where in the world, and this place is in every country, where in the world is the most potential gathered. So that is potential to become anything, to become great. Where in the world is the most potential gathered? So I'll give you guys a few seconds to put it in the chat. Put that in the chat for me. Let me see who gets the answer. And I know we have the answer among us. All right. Somebody said New York, New York. All right, I like that. The guys in front of me, I like that, but I like that. Where in the world? Come, you guys put it in the chat. Put some more answers in the chat. Don't be afraid. No answer is wrong. No answer is wrong. Where in the world is the most potential gathered? Can we get some more folks in the chat? All right. Jalasi. Yeah. In a cemetery. Somebody said, oh, what's going on here? This gets a bit spooky. This gets Coach Roy. This gets a little spooky. This man is talking about in a cemetery, and somebody says Trinidad and Tobago. Right. In a cemetery. Let me tell you why. Somebody said in my head, it could be my brain. In my brain, there's the most potential gathered in there. These are great answers. Do we have any more? Do we have any more answers? We had the cemetery. We had in my head. Do we have any more? Somebody said Trinidad and Tobago. Somebody said New York. Where in the world is the most potential gathered? Because I'm not sure about those answers we got so far. Where in the world? Somebody tell me. Somebody tell me. Somebody tell me. But when I tell you guys, the answer there was correct, right? In a cemetery. Most people die with their potential. Potential to be a doctor, a great sports athlete, a great businessman, a great speaker, a great what. Don't die with your potential. So when I drive past a cemetery, even up to today, when I drive past a cemetery, I always go and I look at it. My potential will never end up inside of there. My potential must not end up inside of there. And you have to convince yourself, and you know what happened? You always get that voice sometimes that say, well, I don't think, and you find excuses. You find all these excuses why you can't make it. And why not find the reasons why you could make it? Some people say you believe and achieve. That's very true. If I don't think about it and I say, you know what? And there are things that the simple things that you do. I was born to be somebody. I can't tell you guys around the world, including Trinidad, I've gone to many groups and I've said to them, I want you guys to say 3 times to me, I have greatness inside of me. And the kids will say it, and I say, guys, be honest with me. How many of you think that was weird? All their hands go up. You know why? Kids don't say those things to themselves. Life and death is in the power of your words. Your future, hear what I'm going to say, your future lives in your mouth. Oh, this guy is saying some weird stuff, Mr. Roy. He is saying some weird stuff today. Your future lives in your mouth. What you say about yourself can happen. I can, I will, I shall, I must. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I'm going to make it. I remember a little kid one time, there were 300 kids. Trinidad made it to the World Cup in 2006, and they were picking some 3 ball boys from Trinidad to go to Germany. And that's right, confess it, right? To go to Germany. And I remember a little boy came up to me when the 300 kids came, and before we started the event, It was a one-day event put on by Coca-Cola. The kid said to me, "Coach, I'm gonna be one of the guys going to Germany." I look at the little kid like, this kid is arrogant. He's arrogant. "Coach, I'm telling you, I'm gonna be one of the kids who get picked." All right, kid. All right, all right, all right, all right. So the kids do a little football fun activity, and then we had one of our local celebrities came, and there's this big barrel with all these names in it. Man, and that guy spun that thing. He spun that thing. He spun that thing. And let's say if my name was on top, I'll be crying because the way that paper is turning up, all those papers are turning. Oh my gosh. I don't have my chance again. But guess what? Guess what? They call the first name. Little kid comes up. He's real happy. I'm going to the World Cup. Next kid comes up. The third name they call, and I never remember the kid's name. His name got chosen.
Oh.
And he came up to me and he said, "Coach, I told you I was going to get chosen. You didn't believe me." And I'm still looking at the kid like, I'm chatting with his mom. His mom said, "Dion, since this competition, this thing came out, my son has been telling everybody that he was one of the kids to get chosen. And I believe he spoke it into being."
Yeah.
He spoke it into being. There are many guys that left Trinidad and Tobago and have been known in the world and become very, 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 very great because of the things that they said to themselves. And of course, there's always a question of, should motivation be external or internal? That's always a question. Do I need my mom, my dad, my teacher to motivate me? And I'll say to you this, to you guys, it takes a bit of both. It takes a bit of both. Because sometimes, and if there are any coaches on, or more parents on, with a little spark, you can start a big explosion. So what you say about yourself can really happen. What you say, what you believe about yourself, and you speak it into being. If the teacher gives you a C or D or a B, you know what? You know what I'll say? Guess what I'll say? I'll say, I am an A student who has not yet been recognized. I'm an A student who has not yet been recognized. The teacher has been honest. This is the grades I deserve now. But I know I am an A student. So guess what? When I believe I'm an A student, okay, maybe I do a little bit of studying. Maybe I get a tutor. Maybe I do some extra lessons. And guess what? Eventually, I'll become that because I believed it. Don't let anybody in life tell you can't make it. Because there's always that little voice of the enemy come, "You're not good enough. You're not tall enough. You're not this. You're not that. You're not that." You got to prove them wrong. Prove them wrong. Prove them wrong. Prove them wrong. You know, and it's the same for, I could give you guys numerous stories. I've had the God-given opportunity to work with some of the best players in the world. And when you hear some of the journeys that they have gone through, it wasn't just a cakewalk. Right? You gotta know, and I love what Zion put in the chat. You gotta be able to overcome adversity. You gotta be able to overcome adversity because it's part of life. It's part of life. If we're driving and the police put a roadblock and say that part of the highway is blocked, here's what? I can't go again. No, there's another way. It might be a bit longer, but there's another way. Sometimes I might go over. All right? Some things in life I might have to go over or go around it. But I can't say this obstacle in life, I can't achieve that. I can't achieve that. I'll be honest with you guys, when this, being a technical director, and I remember when I put in my application, and so I already put in my application to be youth director, to be youth version, to help the youth. I had some expertise there. And when they called me back and said, "Dion, would you consider being a technical director?" I literally almost jumped out of myself. And I said, "Yeah, I'll consider." So sent my resume and stuff. And they had a board meeting. And I understand the board meeting lasted about 3 or 4 hours. Lots of applicants and so. And then eventually they called me and said, "Dion, we're giving you the job." I could not believe it. And I knew that was God because honestly, I'd closed my school in Trinidad and I'd, been abroad. And I kind of like, well, Trinidad, things are rough and I'm going to take a different focus. And God had it now where I'm back now helping and helping to direct. And it's not an easy walk because you're obviously changing different mindsets and so. But guess what? God had a plan. If we look at Joseph in the Bible, Joseph's brothers threw him in a pit because they were jealous of him. Threw him in a pit. He is saying that he had some dream and saying that he's going to be in charge of something. And they're like, you're the youngest brother. Who do you think you are? And his brothers, his own flesh and blood, threw him in a pit. Joseph went, sold into slavery, and eventually went to work. He went to work, and then he was bought. And while he was working, he was accused of doing something he never did. And of course, thrown into jail. And then in jail, there comes somebody from the king's office in the jail. And Joseph, he was good at it. God gave him a gift of interpreting dreams. And eventually, the person went out of jail and told the king, there's this guy in the jail and that stuff. But while Joseph was in the jail, he never knew where his life would be. And God has a plan. God sometimes will not show you the entire plan. He wouldn't show you the entire plan. Some people say, look, and I like that, destined by God. Some people say, well, this is my lot in life. They throw me in jail. And Joseph had a spirit of excellence. Even in jail, he would do the right things when they put him in charge of the other prisoners. So his attitude, had Joseph not have the right attitude in jail, that would have never happened. And life was unfair to him. Life was unfair. Life was really being unfair to him. He did nothing wrong. And got thrown in jail, accused of being promiscuous, and he was not. But look what happened. And eventually he got in charge, and what was brilliant there, when Joseph got back into power, there was a famine in the land, and his brothers came to buy food and all that stuff, and Joseph forgave his brothers. God had a plan to feed a nation. And that plan started way back with this kid. So all things work together. All things work together for good. Sure. Right? So to those who are called, so I would say to everybody on the call, let me say this to you guys too. You might say, well, success is, let me think, success is if I make it to Manchester United or Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid, I make it to one of those teams. If I'm a soccer player or whatever sport you do, you want to be the best in it, whether it's a Usain Bolt or somebody that Michael Phelps or whoever it is in whatever sport. And of course, sorry that I didn't mention any of the ladies' name, Serena Williams. And that could be success. What if I'm the owner of Amazon? I'm the owner of Amazon, or I'm a Bill Gates, right? Success really is not about having the best accolades. It's not about having the best trophies, being the most successful sportsman, having the biggest house, living in the most fancy neighborhoods. Success, let me tell you guys what success is. Success is really finding out what is your purpose in life. How many billions of people on the earth? I think it's 8 billion people on the earth. Each of us is put on this earth to solve a problem for mankind. Each of us. Each of us. What is my purpose? What is my calling? What is my purpose in life, Lord? And if I can find my purpose in life and I fulfill it, that's success. Don't get me wrong. We have academics to do. You have your school to do. That is very important. But success is really finding out what is your purpose in life and fulfilling it. Right? Because, and let me say something to the kids who want to get scholarships. One of the mistakes we make here in Trinidad, we love football, and there's an opportunity to go and play football abroad. But we put the football first and not realize we are student athlete. I can't tell you guys how many players I know have lost their scholarships because they went up to school and they didn't maintain a grade point average. And if you don't maintain your grade point average, the athletic director gets, the teachers contact the athletic director, the dean will contact the athletic director, and the athletic director will call you in and have a talk with the coach. You cannot play for the school until you bring your grade point average up. And then there were some of the guys who, because of the freedom in university a little bit, decided to go the little alcohol route and interfere with some things that they're not supposed to interfere with, and they lost their scholarship. And I can tell you, I know guys who lost their scholarship in one semester. In one semester, they lost their scholarship. That is, I mean, and of course the parents are sad, they're sad. And I also know guys who have made the sacrifice. They have made that sacrifice. right? That's sacrifice, you know, to be the best that they could be, and went through the scholarships, right? They went through the scholarship. The best people, right? The best people in the world, right? The best athletes in the world, they win. But in order to win, you have to make sacrifices. In order to win, you have to make sacrifices. And and the thing is, you have to be humble about it. Can I treat? I gotta. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna treat everybody as an equal. I'm gonna treat everybody as equal. I'm not gonna think I'm better than this one and I have more status and all that stuff. I never felt. I never in my wildest dreams, in my wildest, and I had some wild dreams. I never thought coming from Trinidad, I could meet somebody who climbed Mount Everest. I never thought that. Where do you run into somebody who climbed Mount Everest? While I went to Colorado, it was Christmas time, and one of the parents invited me over for a Christmas gathering. And I'm like, sure, hey, you don't make a mistake with me when it comes to the food. So I went. I went. And while we're there now, I see this guy setting up some slides and so on. I'm like, well, I guess we have to sing Christmas carols today. All right, get the voice ready. And all of a sudden, the guy starts, and what happens? He is actually talking about his journey up Mount Everest. And I'm like, forget food. I need to be here. I could not believe it. I could not believe it. And the guy starts to talk about the journey. And of course, you go up in what is called an expedition. Of course, you have to train for that. You go up, you go up to that expedition, base camp 1, base camp 2, base camp 3, and all the way up. And eventually, what happened with that guy? A couple of his friends in the expedition died. And they have a law that when you die, wherever you die, you have to stay there. Right? That's a law that's something you sign. The people from that place, Nepal, they believe that that is where that is they did something and they have that, and that's something people sign to. And this guy, you know what he said, that he got to base camp 4, and then he was going to make the summit because he had a certain time to make the summit before the storm came in. And he got up with about, he said, about 3 minutes to go to get to the summit. And of course, we're not talking about 3 minutes of normal walking, right? You have all the gear, and his oxygen ran out. And he said, you know, he got up there, took a picture and stuff, and he had to get back down because his oxygen ran out. And he said something to me that I'll never forget. Very simple words. No mountain in life is too high to climb. And that stuck in my mind. Very simple words. And that stuck in my mind. I was like, wow, here's a guy that climbed Mount Everest. And we have Mount Everests in our lives that we think that, oh, we can't do that. Why? See the glass as half full, not half empty. Where there's a will, there's a way. I went and did a bunch of courses around the world, and thank God that people helped me. People helped me. These opportunities I get, I'm still thrilled. Some of the God-given opportunities I've had, and some of the clubs I've got to go to, and I'm like, and I always remember the guys back home who laughed at me. By the way, I still remember them. These guys laughed at me, and that sort of screwed me. And I don't hate them because they're looking at it as impossible, right? And I want to say this to you guys also. There are two pains in life. Two pains that you have to suffer one of those pains, right? And I love what Elisa said, right? Attempt to climb. It's better to fail to try, fail and try and fail than fail to try. It's better to do that. It's much better to do that, right? These two pains, right? You have to suffer one of them. I had to suffer one of them. And it's one of the pains is called discipline. That's a pain. One of the other pains, and I know somebody there will already have the answer. One of the pains, a few of you will have the answer, is called regret. Well, called regret. So you have a pain. I have a choice. There's a choice of discipline, there's a choice of regret. When we take discipline and we put it on a scale, it's weighed in ounces. When we take regret and put it on a scale, it's weighed in tons. So the pain of discipline is weighed in ounces. The pain of regret is weighed in tons.